Hello and welcome back to this tutorial series on Introduction to MATLAB. In the last tutorial, I discussed how to use plot command in the MATLAB to display the result into the graphical format. In the last tutorial, we simply plotted two vectors x and y, and we have not put any label on the horizontal and vertical axis. In this tutorial, I am going to discuss how to label those axes and also put a title on the graph. Let's get started. So first I'm going to create a vector x, which we created earlier, 0.2 to 5. Now I will create another vector which is 2 times x. I will be using two vectors to discuss all the different formatting in the plot command. So let's call the plot command now and write x comma y. You know, the first vector if I slide x as a first vector, is going to be on the horizontal axis, and this y vector is going to be on vertical axis. Now press an enter key to issue the command to the MATLAB, and this figure will appear, which has x-axis on the horizontal direction and y-axis on the vertical direction. First we are going to put the name of the x and y axis. To do that, we will simply go to the insert and click on x label. The cursor will appear here, and now we can write the name of our axis, x axis. Simply click on this screen, and now we have nicely written x axis on the horizontal direction, horizontal axis. Next we are going to label y-axis, so I will simply go to the insert and click on y label. This cursor will start appear here, and I will write y-axis. Simply click and you will see a nicely written y-axis is appeared here now. Next we are going to put a title of this graph, and I will go again to insert and click on title. Now we can start writing our title. So let's write the plot of y versus x. Simply click on screen, and a nicely written title is now appeared. Now you can give this figure to anyone, and he will just simply recognize this what type of plot it is. So it's plot of y versus axis, y versus x, so that this is y and this is x. You can write also x versus y. So we have written x-axis and y-axis here. Another thing we can do here is insert legend. So to insert the legend, so legend is helpful when we have multiple lines here and you want to recognize which line represent which data. So this right now we have only this single line, so it says data 1. Okay, so we can name it as y by double clicking on there, y versus x. Click on somewhere else on the screen, and it will display this y versus x. So this legend is helpful to recognize when we have many different lines present in different colors. We can use this insert command and this use arrow command here to put an arrow in this direction. So that means x is increasing in this direction. Then we again go to this arrow command and click here to display this, that y is in this direction. Many other options are available. If you see here, this z label is not active right now because we are in 2D, so we will have only x and y. Then we have text arrow, double arrow, text box, rectangle, and then we have axis or light. So if you click on axis, so you can simply click here to create some other axis as well. So right now we are not interested in that, so just delete it. So we just have this x-axis and y-axis. We also looked at how to put a title to it, and then we also looked at how to put a legend to it. Okay, so this is how we can do manually, but instead of doing this manually, if you have multiple graphs, we cannot do that manually. So just close this window here. What I'm going to do is, let's start creating a script file first, and then I will discuss how to use script commands to write all those labels on the graph. So let's create a new script file, and we know how to save it, so we will just go to here Ctrl+S, and I will name it as script _2.n. I will press enter, and this file will be saved. The first command we are going to write clc to clear all the windows, and Then I will use clear to clear workspace. Now I will create two vectors, x from 0 to 0.2 and to 5. You know how to create vector in the script file as well. The same way we did in the command window, we can do that in the script files. Only difference is that these all lines will be executed once when we will hit run button on the editor tab. So let's create 2 times x. Now we can call figure just to tell the MATLAB that we are creating a figure. So let's write this command figure. Then we will use the plot command to plot x comma y. Then we will start labeling our x and y axis. So to label the x axis, we will simply write x label, and then we will use this commas and supply x to it. Then I will use y label and use this index bracket, and we'll simply put y. Then to put a title to it, so I will write title, and then I will write plot of y versus x. One thing you notice here, I used a single quote and double quote. You can use any type of quote you want. And then finally I will put listen, and to give the name to the listen, I will write y versus x. Simply that. Right, so now we have written all the commands that will be helpful to create a figure, nicely labeled figure. Now we just have to save this. You will see a star is appeared, that means this file has been modified. To save it, put Ctrl+S, and then I will just simply click on this button which says run. If you run this, you will see the nicely labeled plot is appeared now, which says plot of y versus x. Also we have listen here, and the x label is also there, and y label is also there, because we have just simply written x and y, so that's why it's saying x and y here. And if you want to write x axis and y axis, you can do whatever you want to do. Now one thing you can do here is we put an arrow to that. So to put an arrow here, we write RIGST, right arrow, and we just simply copy it and paste it in the y as well. Now save it. Now run it again, and you will see a nicely displayed arrow is also there now here. Okay, so let's look at what we did here actually. So we write CLC clear to clear the command window and workspace. Then we created x vector, then we created y vector, then we written this command figure to tell the MATLAB we have to create a figure. So this will create a empty figure in the MATLAB. Now we will plot our data. So I called plot x comma y. Then after plotting it, we will label it x label, y label. You can do earlier as well before calling the plot command. And then we write is title by using this command which is title, and we did a plot of y versus x, and then we write a listen of it which is y versus x. Okay, so this is how we can use script file as well to plot the functions in the graphical format. So this was all about today's tutorial, how to label the plots properly, and this will be helpful when you will be displaying your result to someone who are not familiar what type of graph it is. So if you label it properly, then he will easily recognize what type of plot you are referring to. Thanks for watching this tutorial. I hope you like this tutorial. Please like, share and subscribe. I will see you in the next tutorial.